Straight ahead on CCX News, trouble brewing in the craft beer industry due to the partial government shutdown. Plus,
the northwest suburbs are probably the heart of the medical technology industry for the state of Minnesota and maybe even the entire country.
The local growth of med tech. We tour the area to show you what's changing and what's growing new jobs. But first,
we've lost officers due to the stress of the job.
Plymouth police take a new approach to mental health. CCX News starts right now. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us. Police work is a demanding and stressful career. Over time, the calls that officers respond to can take a toll on their mental health. But Plymouth police have implemented a program designed to get officers help. In the course of a day, police officers respond to a variety of different calls.
They call when they have a problem, and it's our job to come and try to solve that problem. Some problems are very innocuous and some are very grave.
Plymouth Police Chief Mike Goldstein says that some of what officers see on the job can be hard to digest.
Some of the images, they accumulate over time, right? And if you don't have a healthy way to get that off of your shoulders, it can be debilitating.
On top of that, he admits that overall, police don't do a very good job of taking care of themselves.
We have higher incidence of cardiovascular disease, higher incidence of diabetes, higher incidence of mental health issues, chemical dependency, etc.
It's why Plymouth Police implemented a program called Checkup from the Neck Up, which requires all 80 of the department's sworn officers to meet with a mental health professional once a year.
And I really don't necessarily care what they talk about. I just want them to establish a relationship so that if something should ever sort of come about in someone's life and they wanted to have someone to connect with, they'll already have that relationship.
Take your time.
The unique feature is that the mental health professional is a retired law enforcement officer.
Who had a full career, who clearly understands the dynamics of the job and interacts pretty well with law enforcement personnel and other public safety folks who go to see him.
It's a program that's built into the department's budget and comes at no cost to the officers. The hope is that this tool will help police deal with the trauma that comes from the job.
We've lost officers due to the stress of the job who are still young and vibrant. We don't want that to happen in the future. We want to do whatever we can to keep people as healthy as possible.
And it's not just the sworn officers who get access to mental health services. All of the department's civilian personnel have the option to see the therapist as well. Meanwhile, in New Hope, prep work has begun at the site of what will be the city's new aquatic facility. Today, the city started removing trees around the current city hall. More than 60 trees in all will be removed, more than half of them ash, which the city says are either unhealthy or undesirable. Construction on the pool is scheduled to begin this spring, about the time construction on the new city hall and police station is expected to wrap up. Golden Valley City Hall is slated for a remodel. The city has budgeted $300,000 for a makeover of the city council chambers. According to public documents, the chambers were last updated in 1989. The city council will vote on a contract with an architectural firm Tuesday night. The government shutdown is impacting an industry you might not consider: beer. Reporter Sonny Goen shows us how the legislative stalemate could brew trouble for some local craft beer companies.
Tomorrow we're planning on brewing English mild style. It'll be something fun, something new, something we haven't tried before.
Michael Campbell really knows his hops. He's been brewing beer for more than 20 years.
What you're looking at there, that's a hydrometer. That is measuring the weight of the liquid at this point, so it's measuring the sugars that are remaining in the beer.
The owner of Blue Wolf Brewing Company in Brooklyn Park says the government shutdown doesn't directly impact his company, at least not yet.
But it does impact the industry. You have new breweries that now can't get open, new products that can't make it out to shelves.
Federal workers with the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau are furloughed, and they're the ones that approve new formulas and beer labels.
You have to have federal approval to make sure those claims that you're making on the label are accurate and correct.
The government stalemate really impacts larger brew companies who sell their products in liquor stores or ship beer across state lines.
If they're not already registered and approved, those breweries are waiting for those approvals before they're allowed to sell those products in the marketplace.
And while Blue Wolf doesn't traditionally bottle beer, they're considering releasing a special limited edition to celebrate its 1-year anniversary.
We do have plans for a very small bottle release of an Imperial Stout that we're making.
But the shutdown could prevent that from happening because the bottles would require labels.
You don't want to mess around too much with the government agencies.
And the government shutdown could cause a brouhaha for consumers waiting for new beers to be released. The longer the shutdown goes on, the more some local brew companies are looking at the possibility of having empty beer tanks.
Yes, I'm hoping it's over soon for everybody. It doesn't help the industry at all.
In Brooklyn Park, Sonia Goins, CCX News.
The government standstill could also hold up new companies waiting to get permits for new breweries or expand old ones. Well, here in the northwest suburbs, you may know medical technology is big, but you may not realize how big. In this week's Business Matters, Corey Bork gives us a tour around the area for what could be a record year in med tech investment.
Minnesota is home to the largest cluster of healthcare technology companies in the world.
Frank Jaskulke has his eyes on Minnesota's medical technology pulse, a pulse that grew out of the company that gave the state its heartbeat.
Medtronic grew to become a global leader with therapies and tools to treat many of the world's most pressing healthcare conditions.
Jaskulke says hundreds and hundreds of companies have branched out from Medtronic, including Maple Grove's largest employer, Boston Scientific, and Abbott Labs in Plymouth.
Because of that company, we now have 35,000 people in medical device jobs alone, and every year executives from Medtronic and other companies form new companies yet again.
New companies like Francis Medical in Maple Grove, a startup that spun out of medtech company NextThera.
Francis Medical is developing a device for the treatment of prostate cancer. It's leveraging technology that Boston Scientific acquired when they bought Maple Grove-based NextThera.
4C Medical Technologies in Brooklyn Park.
4C Medical is developing what's called a transcatheter mitral valve repair product. It's a heart product that allows you to repair a defect in the heart without having to crack open the chest. So it's better for the patient, it's less invasive, less complicated.
And Eurotronic in Plymouth.
Eurotronic is developing a catheter device to treat an issue with the urethra that can make it hard for individuals who, as they age.
Those are just 3 examples.
There probably are 200-300 different just med device companies in Plymouth, Brooklyn Park, Maple Grove alone.
Companies that are attracting significant investment dollars that this year could set a state record.
I think there's a decent probability that 2019 finishes with more than $1 billion raised for healthcare startups, which would be a first in the entire state's history.
For Business Matters, Corey Bork, CCX News.
The last 2 years have already been historic for medical technology companies raising investment capital. Last year, companies raised $725 million, just shy of the all-time mark of $759 million set in 2017. And here's another sign of future med tech growth in the northwest suburbs. Just this past week, Dutch healthcare company Philips acquired the former Boston Scientific building in Plymouth. The $11 million deal could produce 500 to 600 new jobs in the region. Still ahead on CCX News, Talking Salt and Sugar, the podcast that takes a different look at food. Plus, the Wayzata girls hockey team uses a strong first period to jumpstart a big win. But first, one more day on the mild side. Wednesday, we start to get colder. Welcome back. For a couple of guys from the northwest suburbs, the saying, food for thought, is more than a phrase. They love food so much they found a way to do a weekly podcast on the subject. We get more from Eric Nelson.
We have another video episode of the Food Scientist Podcast, and this time Brian is happy.
I'm so excited this time. I can't wait.
They consume calories and carbs.
Get set, go.
They talk salt,
hot chili squid,
and sugar.
Still not so bad.
I'm still kicking. We're good.
Welcome to the Food Scientist Podcast, which originates from Amy Zajak's apartment in St. Paul.
We have fans, I guess we'll call them, who also send us nasty things to eat.
Not always nasty, like
usually nasty.
I showed him this flavor.
The stars of the podcast are Danny Sussman of Robbinsdale and Brooklyn Center's Brian Pierce. They fill up on food.
Whoa, it's getting fishier and fishier.
Which leaves them full of opinions.
This tastes like an onion that you found in the garbage.
The threesome has been doing the podcast for 13 months.
It's a lot more difficult than I thought it'd be.
And just taped their 60th show.
It's not a podcast about food. It's a podcast about love.
People think we eat like this all the time. And we don't, I think.
Look, I have some Oreo Milkas.
They sample stuff from the U.S.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
and around the globe.
We've gotten into a little bit more of the weird international foods. Weird to us as Americans, not necessarily weird to them.
I'm working it.
The food fanatics are slowly cultivating a following.
Milk chocolate.
They even receive treats from their fan base.
We had a fan who was in Japan and sent us all different Kit Kats. We had a fan who was in Australia and sent us a bunch of just typical Australian snack foods.
I mean, Danny, you say 4 servings, but you know how these nutritional facts work.
The podcasts are a mix of entertainment and information.
I'm sorry, Brian.
The hosts are often on a sugar high. But they also dish up food factoids that are educational and interesting.
Cream in Oreo. It's spelled C-R-E-M-E, not C-R-E-A-M, because there's no dairy in it. So that's why they spell it that way. They're not just being fancy. There's no dairy. Therefore, Oreos are vegan. They're healthy.
I'm Eric Nelson, CCX News.
The Food Scientist Podcast does not have an advertising budget. They rely mostly on word of mouth to get recognition. Well, still ahead, we're talking about a job interview can actually seem quite fun. But first, defending champion Cooper shoots for a win in their Metro West Conference opener in boys basketball. John Jacobson is in next.
I'm John Jacobson with sports. The third-ranked Wayzata girls hockey team gets another crack at number 2 Edina Tuesday. The Trojans prepared for that one by facing another Lake Conference rival as they hosted Minnetonka. Sophie Urban wins the draw to Sloan Matthews. Her shot is stopper. Urban gets free to knock the rebound in, and Wayzata strikes 8 minutes into the game. A few minutes later, Gretchen Bratton circles out high on the power play. Matthews deflects Bratton's pass in, and it's 2-0 Trojans. Addie Hackley picks up the loose puck along the wall, and when the D backs off, she zips it under the crossbar. A 3-goal outburst in the first period for the Trojans. In the second, the Skippers get a chance. Molly McHugh steals the puck and sets up Kate Holscher, but she's stopped by Stephanie Garvis, who makes 28 saves in all. Minnetonka gets one early in the third period, but Matthews hits the empty net late in the game, and Wayzata skates to a 4-1 win over Minnetonka. In boys basketball, Cooper is hoping to repeat as Metro West Conference champion. They are at home to face Benilde St. Margaret's. Cooper's Quincy Snoddy threads the bounce pass on the baseline to Cam Vaughn for the reverse layup in the early going. Broderick Powell Jr. steals the pass and gets the easy layup, and Cooper jumps out to a 7-2 lead in the opening minutes of the game. And Powell japs it away and goes into attack mode, driving in to score, and Cooper leads 11-6. Jalen Miller drives into the lane and gets the acrobatic layup to drop as he's falling. Miller scores 12 points in the night. Nick Peterson is left open for a 3 for the Red Knights. They go on a mini run to close within 3 points. Cooper, though, is up by 13 at halftime. Second half, Miller gets it to Vaughn, who nails the step-back 3 on his way to an 18-point night. Cooper doesn't have a lot of size, but they do have one big body. Amari Bankhead scores 13 points off the bench as the Hawks win their conference opener, 88-72. It's not a stretch to say this is probably the best team in Wayzata's girls basketball history. The second-ranked Trojans faced another top 10 team Friday as they hosted number 8 Eden Prairie. Trojans play well at both ends of the floor. Freshman Mara Brown with a block there for Wayzata. At the other end, Callie Tyson drives to the basket, misses, but Annika Stewart is there for the rebound and putback and an early 5-point Wayzata lead. Mimi Schrader with a great skip pass to an open Tyson. She buries a 3, 24 points in the game for her. And then it's Braun finding Tyson open in the corner for another 3, and Wayzata's lead grows to 11. Right before halftime, Schrader drives from half court and attacks for a layup. Wayzata takes a 35-22 lead into halftime against a good Eden Prairie team. Second half, Jenna Johnson passes back out to Stewart here for the 3, 15 points for the junior. Wayzata's lead is 18. Trojans are never threatened in the second half. Johnson scores 23 points in the game. Wayzata wins 63-45. Trojans face Maple Grove Wednesday in a game you can watch live here on CCX1. Also in girls basketball, New Orioles head coach Doug Erline and Osseo at home to face Armstrong. And it's Falcons 8th grader Carly Fisher with a big first half. 3 3-pointers for her in the first half and a dozen points in the game. The Orioles will keep it close early. Jaden Klein driving, scoring 2 of her team-high 13 points. Maggie Bauer will drive from the wing to score 2 in the paint. It's a close game at halftime. Armstrong leads Osseo 33-31. Second half, and the Falcons get rolling. Carly Kerschel scores off the pass from Basenga Matunda. 23 points in the game for Kerschel. Ella Brugnoli open on the wing, buries one of her 3 second-half 3-pointers. It's part of a big 21-0 Armstrong scoring run. Falcons really bother the Orioles with press and traps in the second half. Matunda with a steal here. Misses her first shot, but she follows up to score 2 of her 18 second-half points. And the Falcons pull away to win it 80-51. And that is all for sports. Delane, back to you.
All right, thank you, John. Up next, where giving a speech isn't so intimidating. The place in Brooklyn Park that delivers confidence when we come back. Finally, giving voice to a whole new hobby.
So today, I'll be talking to you about the job interview.
Here's a place where talking about the job interview is actually kind of fun. That would be Toastmasters International in Brooklyn Park. It's where you can learn public speaking skills and gain confidence while doing it.
The way that they give criticism is very empowering and helps guide me to a better leader, a better speaker, collaborator. It's really improved my life and my confidence.
The group here is really kind of unique because we're ethnically so diverse, and it's really kind of fun because you meet people of all ages, all different ethnic backgrounds.
The group even has members where English isn't their first language. If you're interested in giving it a try, Toastmasters meets every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. at Brooklyn Park City Hall. That's all the news for now. Thanks for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4.